Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ungifted. Dr. Schultz just figured out who Donovan was. So we're going to have to wait and see how this turns out. Chapter 19 is on page 202. It's called Unwelcome. It's in the perspective of Donovan Curtis and IQ 112. I was pretty good at video games, but I never had I felt more comfortable with the joystick in my hand than when I was driving Tin Man. The robot was like an extension of my will. The slightest twitch of my finger, and he was instantly obedient to the controller. It was as if my every thought could make him dance. For once, we weren't in the lab. With the state robotics meet barely a week away, it was time to simulate competition conditions. The team had spent all morning converting the gym into a perfect copy of the Duchess Auditorium, where the tournament would take place. Tin Man moved back and forth, accepting inflated rings from Abigail and placing them on the pegs we had attached to the gym's climbing apparatus. We even set up the pit, which would serve as our headquarters at the meet. It supplied everything from tools and spare parts for Tin Man to a cooler of Euclid, a high-energy drink that, according to Noah, hydrated faster than Gatorade. Most of the team was gathered around Oz, their eyes panning back and forth from the robot to the teacher's stopwatch. They let out an audible groan when I raised one of the rings too high and had to stop the robot to lower the mechanism down to the peg. That cost us time for sure. Easy, Donovan, the teacher cautioned. Remember, you've got a stronger motor in the forklift. At last, Tin Man placed the final ring, spun around, and headed for the starting position. The stopwatch beeped, and Oz called out our time. Best we've ever done, people, even with a few hiccups. This is going to be our year, Luttrell crowed. We broke out the Euclid and toasted Tin Man to one another. Chloe had brought brownies, so it was kind of a party. It actually reached the point of some good-natured trash talk directed towards Cold Spring Harbor and how Tin Man was going to leave their robot lying in the dust. Of course, our team members were too polite for real trash talk, so I had to show them how it was done. Their hunk of junk doesn't stand a chance against Tin Man. Their hunk of junk wouldn't stand a chance against Tin Man's grandmother. Tin Man can't have a grandmother, Noah interjected. A machine is not a living entity and has no familial line. Probably why I never ran into any robots on Ancestry.com. We get the point, Oz put in, grinning. Let's keep it to ourselves. It's a little premature for victory celebration. There's no way Cold Spring Harbor can match the kind of times we're putting up, Kevin enthused. Not unless they're running their robot on rocket fuel. I'd never been much of a joiner, so this was my first taste of how it felt to be part of a team that was a real contender. And not just a part. With the robot completed, I was more important than any of them. All those geniuses, and the one person who could make Tin Man perform at a championship level was the dummy who got stranded in the gifted program by mistake. I didn't have a clue how to design, build, or program a robot, but it was up to me to bring home the gold. For the first time since I landed in the academy, I truly belonged. The heavy metal gym door was thrown open with such violence it pounded against the cinder block wall. There, framed in the light from outside, was nothing less than the avenging angel, Dr. Schultz. I swear he crossed the gym in 3 gigantic strides, shooting sparks from his eyes. I considered running, but what for? Even if I could manage to escape, where did I think I could go? I was completely and totally busted. Dr. Schultz, what a surprise, said Oz. You're just in time to see us put Tin Man through his paces. That will have to happen some other time. The superintendent's voice was colder than his expression, if possible. The eyes fell on me. Donovan Curtis, your parents are on their way. Chloe was the first to clue into the gravity of what was going on. Donovan might not be gifted in the same way some of us are, but he has heart and he's the soul of our team. He is in the heart and soul of our class. Dr. Schultz regarded her sternly. Donovan's problems go far beyond trying to be what he's not. I followed him out of the gym, while the squawking and protesting of my teammates rang off in the rafters. He drives the robot. We're dead without him. He is so gifted. He brought us Katie. He showed me YouTube. He's one of us. Their support would have made me feel good if I hadn't been on my way to the end of the world. I scrubbed hard with polishing cloth, and Madagascar got a little shinier. Maybe. It was so dark in the sub-basement of the administration building that it was hard to tell if it was Africa from South America. I was in the dungeon, or at least the closest thing they had to a dungeon, in the Hardcastle School District. My sentence was to polish the bronze world I had knocked off Atlas's shoulder all those weeks ago. The worst part wasn't the polishing. It was the chipping off years of bird droppings that had been ossified by a chemical process that I bet even Noah Euclid couldn't explain. It was all useless, of course. There was no way Schultz was going to put this thing up again, not after what happened. But he wanted it perfect and gleaming in its hiding place. Actually, what he really wanted was for me to suffer. Believe it or not, cleaning the celestial sphere as part of 20 hours of community service was my only punishment for everything that had happened. My family was not going to have to pay for repairs to the Hardcastle gym. I was off the hook, a supervisor just like my ancestor James Donovan when he climbed out of the icy North Atlantic and into the lifeboat. Whacking the statue with a branch had been a dumb thing to do, but in the end it fell within the range of normal wear and tear. The rusted bolt was at fault, not me. Now the only question was, would the insurance company pay for a design flaw from a foundry that no longer existed? You got off easy, Donovan Curtis, the superintendent had told me sternly at the meeting with my parents. I hope you realize that this could have gone a lot harder on you. He called me by my full name, almost as if he was afraid he might forget it again. I couldn't blame him. These past weeks had been like chasing a ghost. That's probably why he was so animated when he added, I don't suppose I have to tell you that you're no longer a student at the Academy for this scholastic distinction. Seated between Mom and Dad, I'd recoiled as if he'd slapped me. I didn't much care about the Academy. I never belonged there in the first place, but it hurt to be off the robotics team. My mother cried, but that wasn't exactly breaking news. She cried whenever anyone got voted off the island on a reality TV. I understood her disappointment. As of today, I wasn't gifted anymore. Not only that, I was responsible for the biggest town disaster since the famous gas line explosion of 1986, which ruptured a drainage pipe and filled the Hardcastle Public Library with raw sewage up to the second floor. Worse still was how Dad took it in stride. Some of that might have been his good mood at finding out he wasn't going to have to foot the bill at a new gym. Mostly, though, it said he had never really truly believed I was gifted in the first place. His only comment was, do you think turpentine will take the bumper sticker off a car? I never gave much thought to the fact that being at the Academy had been such a big deal to him, but for some reason it bugged me that he wasn't more upset to learn that the whole thing was a sham. And we'll stop there.